watching ESPN Classic.
Could Havlicek steal it? Havlicek stole the ball. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Alici powers in.
Won their 6th NBA championship.
Gibson, swing.
This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable.
I don't believe what I just saw.
In a life rubbed raw by personal conflict and adversity, Billy Martin managed as he played, ruthlessly and brilliantly. He reshaped teams in his own likeness, preaching a bunker mentality that often lifted his players to levels beyond their capabilities. In 16 seasons, Martin turned around 5 American League teams, taking 4 to the postseason. But when the stadium darkened and then emptied, Martin couldn't even manage himself.
Listen here. He went far enough for me.
Don't you be intimidating.
I'm not intimidating you, but I'm going to tell you something. As far as
Probably the meanest, honest, unfair man on the field.
Contrary to probably what most of the public thinks, Father was a very spiritual man.
He was a very down-to-earth, gentle person when you get him away from that baseball field.
There is no clear-cut picture of Billy because he was a number of different personalities.
I'm also sorry about these things that were written about George Steinbrenner. He does not deserve them, nor did I say them. I did say it. I don't know why I said it.
He was a trouble man. He really was. I mean, I think there was demons inside him, you know, just barking at him.
Mickey used to say that Billy Martin is the only man alive that could hear somebody giving him the finger across the room.
He'd be watching a walking time bomb. When is he going to blow up? We know he's going to blow up. When is he going to blow up?
Billy is really upset.
I think everybody liked Billy until he drank, including me.
I kept warning him that he had to straighten it out or he was going to self-destruct. And in the end, that's unfortunately what happened to him.
There are some managers that you play for because of who they are. There are other managers you play in spite of because you have no choice. And I always felt that Billy was a manager that you played in spite of.
The many parts of Billy Martin's nature were accurately reflected in his 1972 Tigers.
We had a team of, I won't say rejects, but we picked them up from all over, and most of them were at the end of their career.
And I had operation, Frank Howard had operation, Gates Brown had operation, freehand, all the way down the line.
And Jim Campbell at the time thought, we need to get a stimulus in here because we have talent here.
And they took on Billy's personality. I mean, they weren't a very good team, but they were a really tough team.
I liked him. I mean, you know, unfortunately, I was about the only one on the team that did, but I liked him for the simple reason the man knew how to win.
He had this fearlessness that if people didn't like what he was going to do, that's okay. I'm the manager. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it until it gets done right.
Billy ball. Well, you know what we used to call it? Billy bullshit. And that's all it was.
Ignoring the rumblings from within his ranks, Martin juggled, prodded, cajoled, and drove his injury-riddled, over-the-hill gang to one improbable victory after another. In late August, they were tied for first place.
He could light a fire under a baseball team and get them to believe in themselves, to win, and to play better than they knew how. At the same time, that enthusiasm wore thin after a while, and the players started to rebel.
Midsummer, you see some of that. You see when people lose rest, get dark in their eyes. Most people kind of wrote it off on Billy. He's drinking.
I mean, I've been to lunch with him when he was drunk, so drunk that he couldn't hardly walk out of lunch, go in, take a nap, and then after the ball game, go out and drink again. I mean, Billy was drinking all the time.
They'd show up at game times, reeking of whiskey or whatever he drank, you know, stumbling around, but Once he settled in on the game, he was trying to find a way to beat you.
I can't say I ever saw alcohol affecting any of his decisions. I think when he was managing, he was as sharp as anybody around.
Despite his hard drinking, Martin managed brilliantly as the Tigers won the American League East. Then, in a dramatic 5-game series with the flamboyant Oakland Athletics for the pennant, Martin's rush to World Series glory hung nervously on the precipice.
They won the first 2 games out in Oakland. We came back to Detroit and we won the next 2 games. And then the final game was being played in Detroit.
An hour before the game, we didn't even know who's playing. Billy hadn't shown up yet. And when he came, he was so hungover, it was obvious.
I never could understand it because I'm saying, you know, this is for everything. And the man's not even here, you know.
Then, he puts Bill Freehand behind the plate with a broken thumb, and Duke Sims in left field.
Game 5, deciding game for the pennant. And Duke Sims, catcher, is playing left field because he's a left-handed batter.
It came down to him playing Duke Sims in left and Willie Horton sitting on the bench.
The runners are going, and Freehand throws through. Here comes Jackson on the way home, and he is...
And both of those positions cost us a run, and we lose 2-1.
If I'd have played that day, we'd have won.
It ended a sort of a dream season. The Tigers took it as far as they possibly could.
And we were walking up there, and he stopped, and he says, boy, Charlie, he says, this one I really wanted. And he cried on my shoulder. He says, I really wanted this one today.
He was a 3-stage rocket. He was spectacular in the launch. The separation looked gorgeous. The head of the rocket going to outer space would seem perfect, and then the thing would plunge back to Earth. He couldn't sustain the flight.
Billy's real name was not really Billy. He was born Alfred Manuel Martin.
Well, my grandmother called him Bella because she thought he was pretty, and that's Italian for pretty. So, Pretty Billy.
Billy, from the time he was a kid, had, you know, was this sort of bony, sort of strange-looking character whose teeth were bad and whose ears stuck out like the stop signs on a school bus.
He was always teased about his nose, and he was teased unmercifully. The horn and nose and mountain nose and so forth, so many names. He got really paranoid about that, and anytime anybody mentioned that to him, he was ready to fight at the drop of the hat.
Copping Sundays was the expression used in those days. That means to throw a Sunday punch, to always throw the first punch, and Billy was the master at copping Sundays.
In many ways, Billy was just like his mother, you know, pretty tough and ornery, and that's what she was, and she didn't back down from nobody.
Her expression that she passed on to him was take from nobody. Billy believed that was his mantra.
Billy and I grew up in the same neighborhood in Berkeley, and it was in the industrial area, and we called it West Berkeley. Everybody was poor. We were all in the same class, and we lived from week to week. Literally.
He had 2 different sets of clothes that he wore to school. One Monday, Wednesday, Friday, one on Tuesday, Thursday. My father took mustard sandwiches, and on the way to school, he would steal fruit from the neighbors' fruit trees so that he'd have a full sack of lunch.
Kenny Park was only a block from Billy's house and a block from my house, and we spent all our time there. If I made 10 points in basketball, he'd make 12. If I hit 5 home runs in our little softball game, he'd hit 6.
Kenny Park was his turf. It was the place where he was both a street fighter and a ball player.
If Martin ruled Kenny Park and its blue-collar environs, he soon learned that the rules of social engagement changed when he enrolled in Berkeley High School in 1943.
The privileged kids were always called goats in those days at Berkeley because they lived in the hills, mountain goats. And then West Berkeley, of course, represented, I can't say exactly a slum, but it was certainly it was the lower element. And so the kids from West Berkeley were always called shop boys because that was mainly what they took in school, was the shop courses.
If Martin was not invited to run with the Goats, he gained notoriety with all-out performances in basketball and baseball.
He was just a force, like a dynamo out there. Billy was very awkward as an athlete, but he had so much drive that you forgot about what you were seeing.
As Berkeley High shortstop, Martin was named to the all-county team as a junior, but his combative nature would cost him his senior season when he slugged opposing basketball and baseball players. He was kicked off both teams.
He became so disoriented and so focused on his anger that he was oblivious to everything else, common sense or backing off. He just tore into it.
An average student, Martin sought his education at Kenny Park, where Bay Area major leaguers would gather for pickup games during the off-season.
They liked when Billy was there, and he played with the big guys, you know.
Upon his graduation in 1946, Martin received no offers to play pro baseball, but he clung to his dream as though it were a lifeline.
You know something, Rube? What, Bill? He said, I'm going to play for the Yankees. I got my mind made up. I'm going to play for the Yankees. I turned around, I looked at Billy, I said, Billy, you're full of it. You mark my words. I am going to play for the Yankees.
Being a Yankee was like your religion. It's the best way I can relate it. If you're in the baseball business in those days, becoming a Yankee was the biggest thing in your life, and nothing ever surpassed it.
Martin's hopes lay with Oakland Oaks trainer Red Adams, who lobbied for him. After hitting grounders to the scrappy, outspoken 18-year-old, manager Casey Stengel put in a good word, and Martin was signed for $200 a month. A year later, Martin was batting .392 in Class C when he was called up to the Oaks.
I was playing second base at that time, and that was a position that he was playing. And he said to me, is there any other position you can play? And I said, yeah. Why? He said, because you're not playing second anymore.
Even at that age, he kind of took charge of the games, and he'd sit near Casey Stengel between innings practically all the time.
Stengel incited in Billy the love of figuring out how things went on the field.
I think that Casey saw in himself Billy Martin. And when he looked at Billy, he saw himself as a young player.
One day, Cookie Lavagetto came up to me. He had gone to Casey Stengel, our manager, and told him that I was keeping Billy out late at night after the games, going to bars and drinking and carousing. But it wasn't really the truth. It was just the opposite. Billy was keeping me out late.
In 1949, Casey Stengel was hired to manage the Yankees by GM George Weiss. A year later, Martin arrived in New York to a cold reception from the front office.
Weiss thought he was a hoodlum. Didn't want him on the Yankees. This was not the image he wanted for the Yankees. And the reason that Weiss bought Billy was because Stengel wanted him to. And after a while, they started calling him Billy Stengel.
I said, yeah, well, you know, Casey's my old man, you know. I got to stay close to my dad.
The Yankees really were a kind of national symbol. They proved to Billy that he belonged, that whatever deficiencies in his character and his past, all would vanish with an NY over his heart.
As the Korean conflict broke out, Martin rode the Yankees bench, gleaning every smidgen of knowledge from Stengel. In October, Martin had received his first World Series check, a nose job, and a letter from his draft board. Before reporting for duty, he married high school sweetheart Lois Burnt.
The day he got married, Billy and I and Jackie Jensen went over and played 4 or 5 innings, and he was late for the wedding, and he came to the wedding with his brown street shoes on and a dark tuxedo. Didn't look too good together, but that's the way he showed up at the wedding. Mantle came up as probably the most over-publicized rookie that's ever been.
I think they were like brothers, them two, Billy and Mickey.
I mean, that was one of the greatest friendships you ever saw. I mean,
Aside from the fact that they get in more trouble than the law allowed.
Mickey was really a very docile type person and could be led easily. And Billy did a lot of leading, and maybe not in the right directions.
In 1952, the inseparable pair moved into adjoining Bronx apartments with their wives, each of whom was pregnant. While Mantle's great natural talent began to express itself, Martin's visceral abilities were winning admiration in the press.
He was exactly the kind of ball player that wins for teams, who is not a star.
Billy Martin, the second baseman.
He wasn't particularly fast. He did not have a great arm. He had very little power. He wasn't a great fielder and he wasn't a great hitter, but he found a lot of ways to beat you. He'd take out guys at second base. Guy coming too hard, he would tag him in the face.
Casey said, I'll give anybody $100 tonight who gets hit with a pitch. Well, Billy got hit twice.
Billy's presence had a lot to do with the Yankees winning. And one of the greatest plays that Billy ever made came in the 1952 World Series.
Dodgers in Ebbets Field have the bases loaded, 2 out. Jackie Robinson is at bat.
3 runners ready to lead away.
Everybody looked at everybody else. The pitcher, Bob Cazava, looked at Joe Collins.
The ball kept coming in closer to the mound, If I knew that, I would have ran out there myself.
He made this wild dash. His cap flew off.
Here comes Billy Martin digging hard, and he makes the catch at the last second. How about that?
Nobody seemed to want the ball except Billy. And Billy made a play that won the game.
That fall, when Martin returned to California, he was a national hero, and soon the father of an infant girl, Kelly Ann. But he was hardly a hero to his wife, Lois, who decided that 2 years with Martin was enough.
Guy came to the door, and my mom says, I think it's for you, Billy, get it? So, of course, he opened the door, and there was the process server to serve him his papers. Either he was playing baseball with the New York Yankees, or he was out drinking with the boys, or hunting, or whatever. He wasn't hardly ever home, so she felt like she was married to a newspaper article.
When Lois informed Billy that she wanted a divorce, Billy went into a deep, deep depression, and that lasted most of the 1953 season.
For the last part of that season, he says that he was on goofballs, sleeping pills. And he said he was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, which is probably true.
Each day the Yankees were at home, Martin lit a candle in St. Patrick's Cathedral and prayed for a second chance in his marriage. Burying his pain on the field, he was never better, hitting 15 homers and knocking in 75 runs.
This guy was as devoted to baseball as Rodin was to sculpture. His life could be a total disaster, but not his baseball.
Martin up in the bottom half of the 9th, and Martin laced one right up the middle. His 12th hit of the series, making him the hero of heroes.
Billy, I want to congratulate you on winning this beautiful automobile here. I think it's the Ribitol Award as the outstanding player in the series. Is that right? That's right, Tom. Do you think you deserved it? Well, a little bit, yes. You know very well you did. And were you as confident during the series as you've always been all your life? I was a little more confident, Tom, than I've ever been in my life.
In early 1954, Martin was recalled by the Army. At Fort Carson, he earned his first stripes as a manager when the base team went 25-4. Discharged with a Medal of Good Conduct, Martin returned to the Yankees in August 1955, and Stengel resumed employing him as an antagonist.
I mean, he used him because he knew that he was like his club. He was his enforcer on the field.
Billy Martin's on the top of the dugout steps hollering at me, telling me that he would get me before the year was out. And I called timeout with the umpire, Charlie Berry, and I said, come on out now, Banana Nose, you don't have to wait. And he came charging out of the dugout, and I went charging off the mound.
Martin played hard no matter what the hour, and Stengel looked the other way.
Casey never had a bed check. Just as long as you played and played hard, that's all he wanted.
They could go wherever they wanted, do whatever they wanted, have whatever women they wanted, drink as much as they wanted. They lived it up.
Well, we were put on the floor, and we were being handcuffed, you know, like this. I had his knee right on my back of my neck, And Billy Martin said, let's take him. And I said, you know, your timing sucks.
Weiss blamed Martin for getting Mantle into trouble and keeping Mantle from reaching his full potential. The fact that Mantle had his greatest year when Martin was still there looking after him seems to have escaped notice.
The most infamous Yankees altercation occurred in the early morning hours of May 16, 1957. A group of Yankees that included Martin, Mantle, Yogi Berra, and Hank Bauer arrived at a famous Manhattan nightclub called the Copacabana to see Sammy Davis Jr.
We had the bottles sitting in front of us. We was popping a few, you know. Sammy's entertaining us, and this big heavy-set guy, he had a bowling party or something, and he was feeling pretty good, I think, and he came by me and he says, don't test your luck too far tonight, Yankee. Well, and I give him my best vocabulary. I can't tell you what I called him here, but I give it to him.
A couple of them met in the men's room, and somebody said the wrong thing, and somebody got belted. The Copacabana incident, in which Martin really had no role, was an excuse for Weiss to say, we don't want this kind of thing associated with the Yankees, and ship them off to Kansas City.
We finished the ball game, we got on the bus, and everybody was there except Casey Stengel and Billy Martin. And they stayed for about an hour. And when they finally came out, there was one empty seat on the bus. It was by me. And Billy Martin sat down by me, and he said, okay, kid, it's all yours. I've been traded to Kansas City.
For 7 years, Billy wouldn't talk to Casey. Casey tried calling him. Casey would come over, and Billy would walk the other way, because he felt that he had been betrayed by the man he loved the most.
When my father was traded from the Yankees, he was never the same baseball player. And it wasn't because his skills had eroded so much. It was because a chunk of his heart was torn out.
After half a season at Kansas City, Martin was traded again. He would fight his way through 5 more teams.
You know, when you're a ball player, your greatest fear is that your career is going to be over. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he got in some really vicious fights.
And Billy bent over like he was going to pick up the bat and just came up with a haymaker right and hit Brewer right under the eye, and you could hear it like he was hitting a piece of meat, smack. You could hear it over the ballpark. But he broke his cheekbone and stuff and that, and he just thought nothing of it.
If his playing life was chaotic, Martin was showing signs of settling down. He had met airline stewardess Gretchen Winkler in 1957.
After about a month of phone calls, I decided to go out with him because my roommates all wanted to, and I did. And yet, from then on, I guess you'd say we were inseparable.
After marrying Gretchen in October 1959, Martin's career continued to fail as he bounced around before finally landing with the Twins in 1961.
It was a real hard time. He had never been referred to in the papers as a veteran. It was always the fiery Billy Martin, the peppy Billy Martin.
Billy Martin has something to say.
Released during spring training in 1962, Martin wept. Kept on by the Twins as a scout and then a third base coach, his personal life seemed less driven. Gretchen bore him a son, Billy Joe, in 1964.
Those were really probably the best years of our lives. He loved to garden. He loved to be outdoors. He built us a fence. I always felt like he was very happy living in that situation. Some of the ball players were sort of like children that needed daddy.
When I came up, I was a very hot-headed, moody kid. And, you know, he took me under his wing and he says, you know, you've got to learn to stay on an even keel. And I looked at him and says, you've got your nerve to tell me about staying on an even keel, because here you are, one of the brashest guys that have ever played the game. And we developed a great friendship. And he always looked out for me.
In 1968, Martin accepted the managerial reins of the Twins' AAA farm club, the Denver Bears, who had started the season with a dismal 7 wins in 29 games.
I'd say probably for the first 2 or 3 weeks he was there, I couldn't stand him. I hated him. He was always yelling and screaming at us. And, you know, I'd never been in a situation like that where the manager was that forceful.
Martin's shock therapy jolted the Bears into finishing the season above 500. The quick fix, which included 8 Martin ejections, not only impressed the Twins' front office, it punched his return ticket to the majors.
He was a great manager. If you play and play hard for Billy, you'll not have no problem with him.
Hired the previous October, Martin opened the 1969 season with a team tuned to winning by any means. The Martin method was a smash as attendance soared and the Twins surged into the division lead. Then, in August, Martin stepped into a bar fight between pitcher Dave Boswell and outfielder Bob Allison.
Dave, at the time, was a problem. He drank a lot, and he was a problem. And he challenged Billy. And knowing Billy Martin, he's not going to back down from anyone. And he didn't. And he put a whipping on Boswell.
His face was all black and blue and looked like he'd been in with Jake LaMotta or something.
Both returned to work, Martin with a bandaged hand and Boswell wearing sunglasses. Chastened, Boswell finished with 20 wins and credited Martin for his success. Meanwhile, Twins owner Calvin Griffith was unimpressed.
He wanted to have people who would represent his ball club in a way that was wholesome, healthy, and all-American. And Billy was a guy who was constantly, in one way or another, breaking the rules.
What Billy, I think, relished was confrontation with the front office. Calvin Griffith would say, come up and talk with me anytime except I take a little nap between 5 and 5:30 because he was at the ballpark all day. 5 after 5, Billy knocked on his door. He was defiant.
After winning the West by 9 games, the Twins were swept by Baltimore for the pennant. A week later, Martin was fired.
None of us could believe it because here he had brought some fire to the Twin Cities with the ball club that he'd put on the field. And the next thing you know, he was gone.
The next year was the only year that Billy sat out of baseball. And that was a really hard time.
First time I ever met Billy Martin was after his Minnesota managing job when he became a radio broadcaster for a Minneapolis radio station. And embarrassingly had to come around to the different camps carrying his own tape recorder and doing interviews for his radio show, which was really demeaning to Billy.
By 1971, Martin was back in charge, this time with Detroit. After winning the division title the next season, Martin wore out his welcome by fighting with the front office and league officials in '73. That September, he was fired.
That firing was hard. It was probably the worst. I don't think he had any idea where he was going to go from there.
6 days later, he goes to Texas. He replaces Whitey Herzog, of all people, and proceeds to turn Texas around.
Nobody even thought about the Rangers as being a major league ball club.
When we first came here and I opened a bank account and I said my husband was with the Texas Rangers, they said, oh, he's in law enforcement.
We had a conglomeration of players all on losing ball clubs. And when Billy joined the team, he said, boys, we're going to start playing some baseball.
You know, Billy literally willed his teams along, I think, in a lot of ways. In some ways, it was just total fear, abject fear.
And the fans loved it. You know, they really got behind all this, and it was almost like, let's go to the ballpark today and see what Billy's going to do.
Well, Billy came up with the idea that he was going to use these walkie-talkies.
I said, a what? He says, a walkie-talkie. This is the first time in the history of baseball.
Start the ball game. It's working good, okay?
The 8th inning, men on 1st and 3rd, 1 out.
Frank, can you hear me? Nothing.
And I look in the dugout and I see Billy talking. I can't hear him. I see him going. I can't hear him. Just then, Louis Tiant, the Boston pitcher, steps off the mound, puts his hand up to his mouth, and he says, "Hey, Frank, Billy wants you to put on the squeeze play."
Billy got upset, took the power pack off and threw it against the concrete wall. The dugout shattered everything, and that was the end of the walkie-talkie experiment.
Martin's tactics fired the 1974 Rangers to win 84 games and finish second in their division. Attendance almost doubled to 1.2 million.
No one really thought this could happen, but I think it was the greatest story in baseball that season, even though the Rangers didn't make the playoffs, because Billy Martin was such a dominant figure in the clubhouse, and you could see right then and there the impact that he could have on young players.
First exposed to a cowboy lifestyle in Mickey Mantle's Oklahoma, Martin embraced the romance of the Old West.
I could get him to any film if I could convince him it was a Western.
It was macho, it was heartfelt, it was sentimental, it was tough, it was risky and dangerous, it was hard drinking, hard loving.
He'd always kind of perceived himself as a gunfighter in a way. You know, he always read the old Louis L'Amour books and the Western books, and always had said, hey, if I lived back then, I'd either been a sheriff or a gunfighter.
With new ownership, Martin's influence waned. When he resisted, some thought he was too big for his boots.
Billy was somewhat of a control freak, and he wanted to control everything, not just the players on the field, but I think he wanted to control a lot of things in the front office.
Whatever went right in 74, things went wrong in 75.
Martin was fired in mid-season, just a year after he made big-time baseball popular in Texas.
Billy was so intense and so focused on what he was doing to get things turned around that there wasn't a whole lot of energy left after they got turned around.
When Sports Century continues...
It's important to me, it's important to all of us, and it's particularly important to New York and to the Yankees.
In 1973, new Yankees owner George Steinbrenner promised New York a world championship within 5 years. But few knew the extent to which the Cleveland shipbuilder would go to deliver on his word.
When George took over the ball club, it was unlike anything we had been through, because George treated the team like it was a Broadway play, and he's out to sell tickets.
George wanted a little more histrionics, a little more pizzazz, a little more playing to the crowd. And it crossed my mind. I said, my God, he's talking about Billy Martin.
The hero of the 1952 and 53 World Series victories over the Dodgers. This morning, he was officially named as the 20th manager of the New York Yankees.
Well, of course, this was the lifting of this 18-year burden that Billy was carrying. It was a wonderful thing for him.
Martin's Yankee exile ended in August of 1975, but the joyous homecoming turned sour in September when he was stricken with a deep loss. Casey Stengel, his mentor and father figure, died at 85. The night before the funeral, Martin stayed alone in Stengel's California home.
Billy slept in Casey's bed that night. Casey's dying was a real blow to Billy.
In 76, then, Billy wore a black armband on his uniform all season for Casey. He was the only one to do it.
7 weeks after Stengel's death, Martin learned that his daughter Kelly was arrested in Colombia on charges of drug smuggling.
They busted me with a little over a pound of cocaine. By being Billy Martin's daughter, really kept me down there longer, because then I was somebody important.
His private life a shambles, Martin plunged into his mandate as Yankees manager.
At the beginning, you could call it a creative tension, and it reached its zenith in 76. That was a wonderful team without great players.
He liked that attitude that we brought to the table every day, where we were fighting everyone, you know, and we fought against Boston, Kansas City, Milwaukee.
And he won with that kind of a flair, with that kind of brazen approach.
Mark Littell delivers high drive into right center field. That's gone. It is gone. Chris Chambliss has
so mediocre for so long. And Steinbrenner had created something. It was through, at the top, him pushing, spending, prodding.
Deceiving the runners. He's not deceiving him. Who's he deceiving? My runners, they're going to go on one or the other. They're going to go, come to a stop and straight halfway.
They go to the World Series against the Cincinnati Reds and proceed to lose 4 in a row. Now, George Steinbrenner shows Billy the sort of guy he is. George has a fit.
That winter, Martin did not go home to his wife and son in Texas, settling instead for a hotel room in New Jersey.
I knew I didn't ever want to leave Texas. I think we all knew that it was going to be hard to maintain the marriage and continue as we had for so many years.
When my parents divorced, it was hard on my mother. It was hard on my father. In a lot of ways, I almost thought it was good for both of them, though.
Family was basically nothing. Baseball was everything. And it took a lot of years for me to, get over that.
I think in Billy's heart of hearts, in the place where he wasn't devoured by alcoholism, he was someone who longed for one woman, one family, one God, one home. The way in which his life was a disaster and a wreck was his inability to achieve what it was his heart really longed for and couldn't begin to reach.
Martin believed the Yankees could win it all in 1977 if they had just one more player, a right-handed hitting outfielder. He wanted Oakland's Joe Rudi.
And George, being the smart businessman he was, and recognizing turnstiles and dollar signs, did the right thing, and he signed Reggie Jackson, much to Billy Martin's dismay.
I don't think Steinbrenner knew what was coming. I don't think anybody knew what was coming.
I'm a Yankee because George Steinbrenner was hustling, man, and there's no other way to say it.
There isn't enough mustard in the world to cover me, such a hot dog.
They need one more guy. I'm the final ingredient.
Hey! I'm one that believes a ship gets nowhere in a calm sea.
Well, he compared us to a sailboat, and he wanted the waters to be choppy and the wind to be blowing real hard.
You got to have a little bit of turmoil.
It was constant controversy, constant turmoil.
A magazine article came out in spring training from 1977 in which Reggie was quoted as saying, I'm the straw that stirs the drink.
Thurman thinks he's the straw that stirs the drinks. Well, he's not. Thurman can only stir it wrong. But it was the wrong time, and it was against the wrong guy because Thurman was beloved by his teammates.
Once Reggie said those things about Munson, Reggie, in effect, became a really bad guy in Billy's mind.
All this backstabbing stuff that I've been reading is good for anybody. Even the good baseball fans aren't going to pay any attention to it. We're a good ball club. We had our troubles to begin with. We'll eventually get everything going together, and we'll eventually win it all. We don't need this type of articles that have been coming out.
Billy, in some way, saw Reggie as a threat to George's love, and Billy was a patsy for George, because Billy was so screwed up. He was so vulnerable to having his emotions played with.
Every day, George had suggestions for Billy. Here's this guy who Billy basically had no respect for, who he knew nothing about the game of baseball. And this guy is telling him how to run a baseball team.
He got more and more frazzled. He'd be sitting in the office after a game, and the phone would ring, and he'd just read from the desk, and he'd laugh, and he'd say, "It's George again. The hell with him. I won't answer him."
The bad chemistry blew sky high during a nationally televised game in Boston.
When he sent in Paul Blair to take me out of the ballgame, it never entered my mind that he was showing me up till I got on the bench, and he put on this big show.
Billy is really upset. That may be the first time I've ever seen that happen in a dugout.
Like Elston getting between, wants to make sure there are no blows struck down there.
Then you see Reggie say something that just
sets my father off.
Billy wants to get at Reggie. And I was being restrained by, that's in full view of the crowd.
He told me he was going to kick my ass. And I looked at him like, the alcohol you're drinking must be going to your head.
Billy gets around, but now Yogi's got him and trying to wrestle him down. Yogi's got him.
And Billy wanted to embarrass him. That's all. It was all about ego, macho, I'm the boss.
Martin continued to torment Jackson by batting him everywhere but the cleanup spot.
Munson and Lou Piniella, who were quote-unquote Martin guys, they went up to his hotel room one night and said, for crying out loud, he wants to bat fourth, bat him fourth.
Jackson was a thundering hitter the rest of the year.
While rumors flew that Martin's job was in jeopardy, the Yankees rallied to beat the Royals and into the World Series against the Dodgers. In Game 6, history rang down on the stadium.
Boom. And of course, the third one was into the black seats. You know, the longest of them all. This majestic, soaring, towering home run.
After a season that rode the edge of disaster, the Yankees were world champions. Jackson had reached his zenith. Steinbrenner had delivered, and Martin had restored honor to the pinstripes. In the haze of victory, all was forgiven.
I really thought that that would be the beginning of a friendship.
I hope this will put to rest the unfounded rumors that a change was about to be made. Billy's contract runs through the 1979 season.
I'm glad this came out because it will stop all the things going around the country say, well, Billy's gone, but this way, I guess, will put it to rest. This winter I can go around and people say, well, I see you're going to be back with the Yankees again.
However wild the ride had been to the top, it would get even wilder on the way down. For their dysfunctional antics, the Yankees would become known as the Bronx Zoo. Steinbrenner would be dubbed the boss, while Billy Martin would be cast as his battered child. With the House of Ruth already in disarray, Yankee life would become an unbearable soap opera when the clash of egos reached new heights. That's tomorrow night on Billy Martin Part 2. For ESPN Classic Sports Century, I'm Chris Fowler. The rise of Billy Martin stands as perhaps baseball's brightest version of a triumph of the will. Up from the streets of Berkeley comes a pugnacious kid with more fire in his belly than baseball talent in his limbs. He not only fulfills his dream of playing for the Yankees, he becomes their manager, taking them to the World Championship in 1977. Now we rejoin Billy for the long, eventful slide, a journey marked by the primary colors of Shakespearean tragedy: paranoia, sex, and self-destruction. It is in the midst of the 1978 season, and the cracks in Martin's once cool demeanor are showing.
It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. There's a pounding on my door. I opened the door, and there's Billy Martin, and you could tell that he was clearly drunk. He sat down on the corner of my bed, and he began cursing about Reggie and about George. And he said, I'm the manager of this team, and he's not batting fourth. He's never going to bat fourth. And then he just started to ramble on about how much he hated Reggie, how much pressure he was under from George. And the bottom line to the whole story is 2 days later, Reggie batted fourth.
He was paranoid. He always felt somebody was out to get him, and quite often somebody was out to get him, mainly George Steinbrenner.
I remember Billy Martin pulling out Casey Stengel's old jersey and rubbing it as he sat behind a desk, saying this was the old man. And he used to watch cartoons before every game. And imagine a scene of Billy Martin watching cartoons, stroking Casey Stengel's old jersey, and muttering to himself. That's what the New York Yankee Bronx Zoo was all about.
But so far, the big news is that they haven't started fighting yet. I figure if we fight more this year, we might win it quicker. You think fighting is good for the team? Well, it could be and it couldn't be.
I think this year our players are a lot wiser. They're not going to be used one player against the other, a player against the manager, or the manager against the front office.
Battle lines were drawn early in 1978 when Reggie Jackson reported 1 day late for spring training with the prior approval of George Steinbrenner.
He saw that as a very insulting thing. And Reggie took it sort of casually and wasn't very concerned about it. And it really set a very nasty tone, which went on throughout that 78 season.
By mid-July, the Yankees were trailing Boston by 14 games, and Billy Martin was coming apart. With his job on the line and rumors of a liver ailment making the sports pages, Martin sought his favorite form of relief.
Every time trouble started happening, that's when the drinking would start getting heavier and heavier. And then as anybody that drinks that amount, they get to the point to where they don't care anymore.
He drank instead of eating. He made the bar his living room and his dining room, and he would neglect his body.
On July 17th, with a runner on first in the 10th inning, the pressure cooker atmosphere between star and manager finally reached the boiling point.
Billy orders Reggie, gives a sign for Reggie to bunt. Reggie, well, you're right. You don't ask Reggie Jackson to bunt. First of all, he can't bunt.
Billy did that simply to embarrass Reggie and to show that Billy, dominated the team.
Billy took off the bunt sign, but Reggie was so incensed that Billy would have him bunting to sacrifice that he decided he was going to bunt anyway.
It was basically an openly defiant act on Reggie's part to say, look, I don't care what the manager says, I'm going to do what I want to do.
After the game, Billy went crazy. He was just livid. I mean, I've never seen anybody any more livid than he was that night.
I thought that Billy was doing a gaslight on Reggie. He was Charles Boyer. Reggie was Ingrid Bergman. Billy was trying successfully to drive Reggie crazy.
While other players might have come back from a 5-day absence by loosening up, Reggie loosened up by talking to the media and talking to the media and talking to the media.
When you were away, when your mind dwelled on what had happened, what were the major thoughts that went through your head?
The magnitude of me, the magnitude of the instance, and the magnitude of New York. It's uncomfortable. It's miserable.
I really thought that Billy might resort to violence. I mean, he might pick up a bat and split Reggie's head open. I mean, that's how angry he was and how uncontrollable he was by that time.
Martin benched Jackson for his first game back. His anxiety about Jackson's return was compounded by what White Sox owner Bill Veeck had told him, that he and Steinbrenner had discussed trading managers, Martin for Bob Lemon. At Chicago's O'Hare Airport, Martin sought an outlet to vent his anger.
Billy walks over to me and starts talking. And he starts talking about Reggie. And he starts saying all sorts of disparaging things about Reggie.
Billy had another pop at the airport bar. But he's fine. He is rational.
And Billy says, did you get all that? Did you get it in the paper? And I said, yes.
He asked us again, did you guys get it all into your paper? He's got a big blank-eating grin on his face. Like he's so happy he has leveled Reggie.
That wasn't enough for Billy. He started in again. And in his torrent of comments came his infamous line, the two of them deserve each other. One's a born liar, the other's convicted. Reggie was the born liar, and Steinbrenner was the convicted liar.
Billy Martin called George Steinbrenner a convicted liar because George Steinbrenner was a convicted liar. Convicted in the case of giving illegal campaign contributions to the re-election campaign of Richard Nixon.
It didn't bother me because I wasn't a liar. I didn't lie. I didn't have to lie. He fired an arrow that was a boomerang, and it came right back to get him.
At this time, I'm also sorry about these things that were written about George Steinbrenner. He does not deserve them, nor did I say them.
We came down the lobby and there was lots of people around, a lot of cameras and everything. I didn't know what was going on, and I see Billy over there in the corner, tearing up.
I don't want to hurt this team's chances for the pennant. With this undue publicity, the team has a shot at the pennant, and I hope they win it. I owe it to my health and my mental well-being to resign.
Billy Martin, when you start talking about firing him from being the manager of the New York Yankees, you might as well just stab him with a knife.
I would like to thank the Yankee management, press, the news media, my coaches, my players, and most of all,
Billy could have been suicidal. Billy wanted to be a Yankee forever.
I was afraid that I made sure I walked out, but I thought he'd walk into a truck or something. He was really down. I mean, I was really, and I felt terrible for him.
And it was just a stunning climax to this whole week that started with Reggie's defiance over the sacrifice bunt.
Reggie, you've got to have some feelings about the resignation of Billy Martin.
Well, I really don't have any feelings. I'm just kind of, maybe the word is placid or drained or wrung out.
Anything else you want to tell us?
I still got my Yankee badge on. That's all I can say.
In July of 1978, the Yankees switchboard lit up with thousands of calls demanding that Martin be rehired. A few even threatened Steinbrenner's life. Within 48 hours, a new deal had been struck between Billy and George, and a secret plan hatched for Martin to return for the 1980 season.
He was sneaked into Yankee Stadium. He was kept hidden.
It was like a covert, like CIA operation. Just to get him into the stadium.
That was one of the most bizarre times that I can remember, where he was just kind of hiding on the storage room, and I looked in there and go, Billy, what are you doing? Where you been? He goes, shh, they're going to do this thing today. I'm going, oh, this is crazy.
The manager of the Yankees for the 1980 season, and hopefully for many years after that, will be number one, Billy Martin. People stood up. They cheered and cheered and cheered and cheered.
Nowhere else could this happen. That man resigns under pressure, and 5 days later is named the manager of the future.
Well, I thought I'd been hit with a Jack Armstrong right hook.
Some kids want to play big league baseball, and other kids want to run away and join the circus. I said, I'm lucky. I get to do both here.
I called George and told him how I apologized for what was said. I did say it. I don't know why I said it. I was angered at the time.
What he said to me showed me that he was a man who realized that he had maybe made a small mistake. And it was small in the total picture.
I'm a free spirit, and I'm going to try to do other things that George wants me to do. In the same time, he says he's going to try to be a little more free spirit, too.
Steinbrenner wanted Martin to publicly admit to a drinking problem.
What are the untruths that we could clear up today?
My over-drinking, I've never been an over-drinker my whole life. I like my beer and I like my scotch like everybody else does, but I've never overdone it. I think I've always controlled myself well.
Well, we have read that there is a drinking problem. Have you promised Steinbrenner that you won't drink for this next year and a half?
Well, no, I haven't. I like Miller Lite and I drink it a lot.
No, Bill, it tastes great.
Less filling, George.
Billy, it tastes great.
Less filling, George.
Billy?
Yeah, George.
You're fired.
Oh, not again.
Like beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Under manager Bob Lemon, the Yankees won the 1978 World Series. But a slow start in '79 compelled Steinbrenner to consider bringing Martin in from the cold earlier than expected. But first, Billy the Kid faced criminal and civil charges for slugging Reno sports writer Ray Hager.
And George said, you guys are going to have to, win both of those. If not, he's not going to be my manager next year. And I said, George, but conversely, if we win them both, he is your manager? He said, he's my manager.
They paid Hager a little money to pay for the surgery to fix his face, and the whole thing went away.
Martin regained the Yankees' helm in June of 1979. 6 weeks later, he lost his favorite player.
The night Thurman died, Dad and I went back to his apartment, and he cried, he got angry, And he looked at me and he said, Pard, I need to go out. I said, Dad, you can't go out. You can't go out. You're going to go out. You're going to drink. First time somebody says something about Thurman, you're going to snap. You're going to get in a fight. I was like, you're right. So we stayed home. We watched 2 John Wayne movies. We made him a Chivas and soda. Sat it down in front of him. He didn't even touch it. Didn't drink a drop all night. He cried several times. He was in a lot of pain.
The Munson death just sealed it. It was just an awful season for the Yankees. There was nothing that went right for them.
And for Martin, the winter nights provided little solace.
Billy was always getting into contrumps in the off-season. He'd get drunk and he'd slug somebody because he was a raving alcoholic. He had no self-control.
Billy would never initiate a fight, but he wouldn't walk away from one. And, you know, he wasn't going to stop and say, well, this is crazy because I might lose my job.
Billy punches this guy out and knocks him colder than a cucumber. And unfortunately for Billy, it makes the papers. Also, unfortunately for Billy, the guy sells marshmallows.
I remember hearing it on TV, you know, and first thing you go, oh boy, you know, here we go again.
For the second time in 15 months, Martin provoked his own firing.
I see a wonderful opportunity out there to bring baseball back in Oakland like it should be. And it's my hometown out there. I'm from Berkeley, California. My mother lives there. And it's going to be very nice.
On February 1st, 1980, Billy Martin was officially hired to resuscitate the once mighty Oakland A's.
By the end of 1979, they'd become almost a forgotten team. They'd lost 108 games. It was in total disarray.
The team's mental aspect was terrible. We were losers, actually. We felt like losers.
Billy came in and at least brought some order to the asylum.
I'll never forget this. He said, you screw me, and I screw back harder. And I think that stuck in everybody's mind, and he had the look on his face like he really meant that.
Billy Martin was the type of manager said, I'm going to let you go do your job. Do it the best way you know how to do it for 7 innings. After 7 innings, I'm going to take over the game. So you're going to do it my way, 7 innings.
1979 was hell, and 1980 was heaven. It was almost like a party out there. Every day we had the song Celebration by Kool and the Gang, and that played every time after the game that we won. People here knew that Billy was an East Bay kid, a tough kid who had scrapped his way up from Berkeley, had played for the Oakland Oaks, so there was a tremendous local identity. He just caught on immediately, and it was lightning in the bottle.
Billy loved being out here. He was an idol out here. People loved him, loved the fact that he would just go to some neighborhood bars, interact with the people.
They were winning, and he was drinking, and nobody had a hangover. He built up a club that was very aggressive, very daring in his own image, and Billy Martin, for all his faults, was a great teacher.
Here's the pitch. Squeeze play on. Run it down the green baseline. It's a beauty. In with a run.
It was his perfect type of ball team. We could do things on the bases to manufacture runs, and Billy, he took it and ran with it, and that's where Billy Ball was involved.
One double steal, playing hit and run. Decoy in the catcher is plenty mighty fun. Billy Ball, A's baseball.
Billy Ball was, in today's vernacular, in-your-face baseball.
He's gonna get in trouble, just you wait and see. You're out of here.
Why is everybody always picking on me?
To me, the essence of Billy Ball is Ricky Henderson's on third, and a big, slow, sort of cloddish guy like Jeff Newman's on first. The pitcher's getting ready to throw. All of a sudden, Jeff Newman just takes a pratfall. Like he's going to steal second, but his feet go out from under him, and he's on his back. Pitcher's like, oh, I better throw over there, and Ricky bolts for the play. Now, that play worked an awful lot of the time. He just stole a run, Billy. Just took it.
It was his game of chess with the opposing manager.
Billy, as a manager, as someone managing the game between the lines, was extraordinary, and perhaps nobody his equal in that era.
He did it so well that he increased the value of the franchise to the point where the Haas family bought it. What they bought was Billy Martin's A's because of Billy Martin.
Martin and the A's opened the 1981 season perfectly. They just kept winning.
Just 2 years to the day that the A's drew only 653 fans to a home game, the team returned to Oakland with a new owner and a spotless record. And over 50,000 fans filled the Oakland Coliseum to see the A's win their 9th game of the season without a loss.
Right off the bat, you've got the best story in baseball here. You have not only a winning streak, not only Billy Martin, not only a team that had been downtrodden before, but you've got pitchers going 9, 10, 11, even 12, 14 innings for the win, which was absolutely great.
It was just such a captivating team led by a swashbuckling manager that captured the interest of not only people here, but baseball fans across the country, and even an august publication like Time Magazine put Billy Martin on the cover early in the 1981 season.
And because Billy's so successful, it makes George Steinbrenner crazy. Now George realizes, again, that he's made a terrible mistake letting Billy go.
The high water mark for Billy Ball was the 1981 playoffs against Kansas City. They swept that series. It was Billy in defiance. He was winning, he was drinking, he was doing it right up front in front of everybody, writers included, and everybody was kind of ordering another one. You know, it's like when Billy's on a roll, it's like Sinatra. You're in. Nobody's saying, hey, wait a minute.
Despite losing to the Yankees in the 1981 American League Championship Series, Martin's homecoming appeared utopian.
I'm not afraid to make comments now, where before, even though you'd answer something honestly, there'd be somebody turn it around a little bit, and right away the owner's mad at you and wants to get rid of you. You know, this way, it's not that way out here. I've got great owners. They're just tremendous people.
Do you see staying here for the rest of your career?
I think so. I think this is it, and I'm very happy about it.
I've done 8 or 9 years, you know, touring with a lot of English bands where I saw a lot of crazy and outrageous behavior and some pretty intense, crazy people. And in that milieu, Billy still measured up and surpassed most. So I was impressed.
You know, where sailors always have all these girls in every port. Well, not Billy. He had them in every town.
Billy's off-field life was always tumultuous. His relationships with women certainly played into it. He lived, in essence, a double life in the early 80s.
When 51-year-old Billy Martin took over the A's, he was living with a girl who was younger than any of his players, 20-year-old Heather Ervolino from the Bronx.
She used to hang out at the Players' Gate at Yankee Stadium. And so the story goes, Billy noticed her. She was a teeny bopper when he met her, and he was a middle-aged guy.
I used to joke with my friends when I go to the ballpark and say, I wonder if she'd like me to get her a beard so she turns 21.
In 1980, Martin met Jill Guyver, a 25-year-old photographer.
First night I met him, I drove him back to his hotel. I mean, he couldn't have been more of a gentleman. Had a cowboy hat on him, then he took it off and put his hand over his chest and, you know, bowed and said, you know, it's been a pleasure, man. You know, I mean, just what are you going to do? It was too much.
She came from exactly the opposite kind of background that Heather came from. She came from money.
She was a leech. She hung on him like a cheap suit.
He fought with her. He'd come to the ballpark and he'd be in a bad mood, and he'd go, oh, the guys would go, Jill's here.
You'd see Jill in the hotel bars with him and in public, and Heather was sort of this mysterious figure, but you knew something was going on there.
He juggled more than 2, I would be willing to bet. Actually, I know. Dad was a connoisseur of women.
The way it was set up for me and presented to me is that, you know, we would be together on the road, and I had my own home, which Billy set up for me in Southern California.
He was essentially leading the life of the Captain's Paradise, that old Alec Guinness movie, halfway between Oakland and Los Angeles. The picture on his desk would flip around from Heather to Jill.
Billy Martin had a trailer behind the left field fence in Phoenix Municipal Stadium during spring training, and there were days that he barely popped his head out of the trailer to see what was happening on the field.
Although Billy was not on the field, we always felt he knew everything was going on.
It was a combination of factors where one by one, like a house of cards, the pitchers developed sore arms, and by the 1982 season, they were a shell of their former selves.
Everybody's injuries were not the same, but yet they want to say that it was Billy's fault because of all the complete games, and I, for one, don't buy it.
That staff was very good, and Billy, by necessity, abused them. He had no bullpen.
We had the pitch counts. We pitched on every 5 days, where everybody else was pitching on every 4 days.
They started losing, and Billy wasn't a good loser, and it turned sour real quick.
There's a warning flammable sign next to Billy Martin in the Oakland dugout. That's the understatement of the year.
He had some tax problems he was dealing with. It was a very turbulent year in Billy's life.
He began to resent ownership. I think he was making demands of A's ownership, and they weren't giving in to him. Even though he had a sweet deal there, I think he wanted more.
On the personal side, issues began to arise that kind of undermined his ability to lead the team. All of a sudden, he's like a leper, you know, and he's the worst thing you can have for your franchise instead of the best.
He liked to stir things up. He was not a person that was happy going through the motions. That was hell for him. And you look at his career, he manufactured some of his own firings almost.
And he said, "You gonna be a Yankee, and I'm gonna be your manager. Now, ain't no way they got you locked up and I'm locked up in this place. Somehow, if the Yankees start losing, I'm gonna leave Oakland. No matter what the contract, I'm gonna leave Oakland."
He's like a caged tiger. I mean, once the people start to close in on him, he just gets worse. He just starts snarling and he says, "Well, wait till you see this."
Whatever was in the office with the television set, ice chest, well, it was no longer steady when all this was over with. It looked like somebody had come in and just dropped a bomb in the middle of it.
He had taken all the pictures down from his walls and beaten his hands into them and torn them up, and his hands were all bloody, and there went his chance to manage Oakland for life.
Billy told me that George was trying to get him. So when he went into the clubhouse that day and tore everything up, that was done by design. He wanted to get fired.
Even there, when he was happy, healthy, had color in his face, had a gut, he still yearned to wear those pinstripes because that's where his heart was. Drive me crazy. I'm like, damn, why don't you stay in Oakland?
You can think of George Steinbrenner as Ebenezer Scrooge. It's not far from the truth. And, you know, Billy Martin was his Bob Cratchit. He would abuse him. He would love him, but he would abuse him constantly.
Well, we straighten a lot of things out. They'll, for instance, I'll be handling all the trades.
What do you mean?
There'll be no phone calls in the dugout.
What do you mean? That is not, that's not right. I'm handling the trades.
That isn't the way we say
I have the right to call you in the dugout anytime I want.
That's not the way it's going to be, George.
Well, you're damn right it is, and if you don't like it, you're fired.
You haven't hired me yet.
Many times I compared it to Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. They couldn't live apart and they couldn't live together. When they were apart, they lusted for one another, and when they were together, they couldn't wait to be apart.
There were times when I know Dad wanted to rip his throat out, and then there were times when he wanted to give the man up.
Whether it was love or hate, Martin and Steinbrenner needed each other, like nitro needs glycerin. 3 times in the 80s, the boss would install the brat in the manager's slot, only to move him somewhere else in the organization within a year.
George would give him a tremendous signing bonus to move into his new position, add years to the contract, and it became very lucrative for Billy.
And then Billy took care of George by performing so well for him, both as a manager and as a showman and as the battered boy.
I know Billy Martin, and I know that every time I've been here, we've had a winner, and the last laugh is going to be mine.
It was like whipping a dog, and the more you whip that dog, the more he loses a lot of his fight. I think Billy lost a lot of his fight. The alcohol was taking an effect, too.
I remember being scared to death when I first played for him. I remember being sad.
the second time.
The liquor rotted out his brain. He was never the same manager after he kept coming back.
He started doing some very strange things, and the strangest was sending Mike Pagliarulo, who's ordinarily a left-handed batter, sending him up to bat right-handed against a lefty pitcher. And of course, Pagliarulo struck out.
He would come in different times, late, close the door. That's when he would do his sleeping. You know, and George would come down and bang on the door and holler and scream at Billy, open the door.
He'd buy dinner and, as usual, buy drinks or whatever. And the next day he wouldn't remember seeing us.
He told me in confidence that he'd quit drinking for a month, just to prove to himself he could do it. And that's why he felt like he wasn't an alcoholic.
I still feel that in a way Steinbrenner has some of Billy Martin's blood on his hands. For a man to drink that much for so many years, to blot out the pain, I can only imagine how he was tormented. But how does Steinbrenner not say, you come back as manager, go to meetings, and I monitor that you go to the meetings. You have to try to deal with this.
I did feel that I had failed to a certain extent to turn him around, but I couldn't be with him every minute. I couldn't convince him. I just couldn't convince him.
Under Martin in the 1980s, the Yankees won almost 60% of their games, but never reached the postseason. Each failure took its toll.
He loved managing, and he needed it. But it also beat him down. By the end of the season, he was gaunt, he was thin.
It was just obvious that managing wasn't the first thing in Billy's mind those days.
After the 1982 season, Martin finally married Heather Ervolino, who at 23 was 31 years his junior. Meanwhile, the more sophisticated Jill Guyver continued to be his frequent companion.
Billy, instead of sitting in the dugout, was sitting by a fence, which was right next to the dugout, and she was right behind the fence. Every so often, you'd see Jill passing notes to Billy with her toes through the fence. And this was all there was 40,000 people in the ballpark, the entire press box, everybody could see this. When Billy was told it was being written, he said, how can you write that? I'm married.
Whitson just turned on Billy. And, boy, Billy found himself not in a fight. He found himself in a war.
They went through the bar, out onto the parking lot, and Whitson was really pummeling Billy.
Almost killed Billy to me. So we got stopped it again and sent them to their room.
Elevator opens and there's Whitson. They start a fight again. 3 different times they had a fight.
And his right arm in his cast like this, and he was walking, and he looked like he was about 86 years old, his arm, and you know, Jake, Billy, how do you feel? He says, I feel great, guy didn't hurt me, you know, and it was really pathetic scene.
Billy Martin was a really tough street kid, but by the time you turn 40 or 50, and you're very successful in your line of work, it's time to stop being a street kid.
Dad had gotten a almost gunfighter-like reputation. He'd been there with Mickey Mantle and his boys, and they had left a little bit early. And this guy wanted to take his shot at the champ.
They threw him out in the street, up against a concrete wall, and it bashed his face into it and almost tore his ear off, and just kind of left him out there for dead.
A month later, Billy the Kid's legendary battles with umpires turned personal. Union head Richie Phillips threatened that the umps would eject Martin if he stepped outside the dugout.
What Richie was trying to do was to call attention that he thought Billy was out of control. And it had to be the umpires. If somebody else wouldn't bring him into control, then we would.
And I defied Richie Phillips to stop it. He said it was war. Yeah, it's war, all right. Thank God there's no dead bodies. There's going to be some dead eagles, though.
People are now seeing the George and Billy show as a cartoon, and Billy being the butt of everybody's jokes.
I always felt sorry for him. I always felt he was
little boy lost. Off the baseball field, it seemed like he didn't know where he belonged.
On June 22nd, 1988, after 4 decades of brilliant turbulence, Martin took his lineup card out to the plate for the last time.
The hirings and firings in New York took their toll on my father. They hurt every one of them. And he started saying things like, you know, Part, I don't know if I'm going to be around another 10 years. Things like that that would make you uncomfortable.
When Sports Century continues, Billy Martin searches for peace away from the turmoil of the Yankees and New York City. But old demons resurface and lead to his untimely demise.
I thought he might get shot or stabbed by some jealous husband or something, or never by getting killed in a car.
He loved his fields, he loved to fish. We had an 8-acre pond that was stuffed with bass. We had a couple of sheep and a few goats and chickens and things like that. But he just would love to walk his property.
After divorcing his third wife, Heather, Billy Martin married Jill Guyver in 1988 and soon took up the improbable life of a country squire on a horse farm in upstate New York.
Billy was a city guy. Billy belonged in the city. But she separated Billy from most of Billy's friends.
When two people love each other, and you know, when you're together, and many times your very best friends, your family gets put on hold, kind of gets discarded.
Jill was a woman who basically tried to take Billy's life over and put it in order.
You were going to change Billy Martin? My wife told her one time, she said, you got a husband, you didn't get a hostage.
Being a land baron, I think that impressed him, but he was miserable because he wasn't managing.
Martin's misery deepened when his 88-year-old mother passed away on December 11th, 1989. A shell of the old Billy appeared at the funeral.
As soon as he spotted me, he'd come right over and, you know, he hugged me and I hugged him. And the thing that amazed me is that I had my arms around a pack of bones. He was so frail and so wasted. And I could also smell alcohol on his breath.
He was fighting immensely with his brothers and sisters at that particular time, and you know, he just felt so outcast, and it was very depressing.
Jill was telling him lies about my brother and myself, and how we were degenerates and, you know, drug addicts and lived on the streets and didn't have any kind of a life.
After the funeral, the 61-year-old Martin went home. Gone from his life were baseball, his mother, and so many of his friends. Dejected, he invited his buddy Bill Reedy and his wife to spend Christmas in Binghamton.
Billy hated Christmas because it pointed up for him everything that his family life had never been.
Billy and Bill Reedy drive off to a local bar in Binghamton to start drinking about 10 o'clock in the morning.
And it wasn't power drinking. There was no banging. At the most, we had 5, okay? I had 5 beers, which was nothing for me. So it's around 5 o'clock. It's dusk, and it's not snowing, but it's wet, and it's icy.
They have to negotiate a steep hill, and at the bottom of the hill is Billy's driveway. And Billy's truck slides into a ditch. And Billy, being Billy, rather than stepping on the brake and either walking home or backing out, he floors it.
And all he said was, hold on or hang on, okay? And then a sudden stop.
And he smashes directly into a culvert. And the collision causes Billy to break his neck, and Billy dies. He was steps from his driveway.
I was down on my knees in the snows, and I had his head in my hands, and I saw his eyes, and it was the first indication that, you know, we were in trouble.
He arrived here at 6:33, and he expired at 6:56 p.m.
First thing the guy asked was, who's driving? And I looked at the guy, I said, I am. I was. What difference? First of all, we didn't hit nobody. Just hurt ourselves. I didn't know we had hit Billy's house, but I knew we just hit something. I tried to wake him up. I thought he's knocked out.
Reedy's explanation for why he said he was driving was that he wanted to protect Billy's reputation. Billy was his buddy, and he knew that Billy was on tap for yet one more round with George.
It wasn't until later in the day at the hospital that Bill really found out that, our dear friend Billy Martin was dead, and he told the true story, that Billy Martin was driving.
People have said that Billy was driving. First of all, the alcohol level that Billy had was astronomical. It would be physical impossible. No one in their right mind would have gotten into a car with someone. I mean, he wouldn't have been able to walk.
I've been with Billy Martin thousands of times throughout the years when Billy had been drinking pretty good, and he never, ever offered the keys to anybody.
It really, in some way, doesn't matter who was driving, because at the bottom of all of that was the same old demon, the same old specter that had haunted Billy all his life.
And it broke my heart because, I didn't want him to go that way. And then when you hear the rumor of somebody, he was drinking this and that, and, the pattern, and you go, golly, I wish it wouldn't have been that way.
More than a few old friends attended Martin's funeral mass at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City.
I kind of convulsed in tears and sobs, and a man got up and grabbed my arm and kind of steadied me and walked me outside and said, I want to show you how many people loved your father. And we walked outside, and you couldn't even see the sidewalk. There were people everywhere. It was amazing. The man was Richard Nixon.
Even in death, controversies swirled like bad weather around Billy Martin. In 1990, a jury concluded that Bill Reedy was the driver, finding him guilty of a misdemeanor. Meanwhile, a legal battle was being waged over Martin's estate.
He was making money hand over fist. And when Billy died, $8.82. That's how much she said was left in the estate for Billy's two kids.
He had IRS problems dating back, 10 years. And so there was a great deal of debt. And so we were just kind of getting out of the hole at that point.
I've received letters now from Jill stating that if I want to purchase the items that my father wanted me to have and wanted Evie to have, that I could purchase them at half price, and here was the price that I had to pay.
Still waiting for the things that he left me in the will. Hopefully, my children, his grandchildren, that bear his name will get those things one day.
I think the alcoholism and the soap opera elements of his life really get in the way of seeing him as a baseball man.
He was terrible, and he was sort of the embodiment of evil sometimes, but he did so many great things, and he had such a power about him, and he was so brilliant that you just couldn't turn away from him.
I'll never forget one time we're in the clubhouse in Minnesota, and this guy walks in the door, and he was kind of, really grungy looking and had a kind of a weird looking outfit on, and I'm watching Billy. He peels up a couple $100 bills and gives them to this guy. That was Zoil Desai. This guy was his all-star shortstop with the Twins, and the guy's working as a janitor. Billy never forgot his old players.
It all comes back to the love of the game. And that will always be the memory in my mind, watching him walk off that little swagger of his, that gunslinger swagger of his, and just knowing that I just stole a ball game from someone and everybody's loving it.
The four most important things in my life have been family, God, my friends, and being a Yankee.
Martin was buried within sight of Babe Ruth's grave at Gate of Heaven Cemetery in New York. But his true resting place was determined in 1986, when his number was retired and his bronze image placed among the stars in Yankee Stadium's Monument Park.
Even though, we think he had a kind of a tortured life in many ways, he went to his grave as New York Yankee #1. That was the most important thing to him.
I may have not been the greatest Yankee that ever put the uniform on, but I am the proudest. Thank you.
3 days before Billy Martin's fatal accident, former Yankees coach Willie Horton got a phone call. It was Billy putting together a staff in advance of a meeting with George Steinbrenner for what he presumed would be his 6th run with the Yankees. For ESPN Classics Sports Century, I'm Chris Fowler.